Hi, this is Joe Castro. I'm a certified technical architect with Salesforce. I want to talk to you a little bit today about whether you should use a Salesforce application for gathering input from a barcode, QR code, RFID, NFC scanner, external device. First off, this is not a how-to video. This is a why should you video. Actually, it's more about what are the considerations because as you'll see, it's not a hard and fast rule. All right, just a little bit of setup first, then I'll show you a demo. When you're talking about scanning from a external, what we call SLED or scanner, the first thing you have to know is that it sends most of these scanners send their input as an external keyboard. All right, so just like if you had a Bluetooth keyboard attached, a lot of these things connect via Bluetooth these days, so they appear as an external Bluetooth keyboard. Why is it important? Well, first of all, if you're using a native app, and I think that's kind of the normal way of connecting to a scanner, right, is for this reason, is it can read the keyboard input directly. What you have with like Salesforce 1, HTML5, Lightning Components, you're actually reading out of a form, right? So I'm reading out of a form field. So I have to wait for the keyboard to send data to the form field, and then I'm capturing the data that's in the form field. Why is that a consideration? A couple of reasons. One, the form field has to be visible. That's actually probably a good thing, right? User can see that data was captured. But second, and kind of more importantly, I have to wait for data to get into that form field. May not sound like a huge consideration, but if your device is slow, and I really noticed this when I was recording because I was recording my iPad, and it slowed down my system resources. So when I was actually pulling out data out of that form field, I was pulling out before all of those keystrokes had been sent in. So even though I was firing on this on blur event, things still weren't all there. Probably not a huge consideration, but it's something. It's definitely something to consider there. That it's harder to bulletproof it using the Salesforce 1 application. What else do you have to consider? Another big thing is since it's an external keyboard, it's sometimes I don't want to say difficult, but it can be. Not as smooth at transitioning between your keyboard and your SLED. So all of a sudden, let's say that I scan something and then I need to annotate it. Well, in order to do that, you have to depend on some sort of hardware button, and I will say this has gotten a lot better over the years. The scanner I'm going to use today has a button. When I want to switch to the keyboard, essentially I push a button, it turns off, my on-screen keyboard pops up, and I'm great. All right, so that's the biggest consideration. If not, it is tricky. It's easier on an iPad than an iPhone, and sorry, I'm talking about iOS primarily. I know it's the same. This might be easier on Android, so I can't speak to that. But the keyboard switching is a cost that you will incur. You can get around this by simply talking about, simply designing your application so that it builds in capabilities to do bulk of the scanning and then give it a facilitation capability to go back and add additional input. Okay, so those are basically the considerations. Let's go into a quick demo and then I'll wrap things up. Okay, let's set this up. I'm using an ArcScan AS10 RFID reader. It's actually an NFC reader. This works the same for any barcode or QR code reader. They all go through the keyboard. So first off, let's set this up. I work for a company that makes hard drives. They sell them to various computer manufacturers. Big Rat Computers is one of my clients. I'm a sales rep. So I want to go out there and they only buy goods from me when they take them off the pallet in the warehouse, actually in the factory. And so I'm going out there and I'm seeing what inventory's left. I knew what was out there, my starting inventory. Now I'm scanning a bunch of parts and seeing what's out there. So if I come in here to Big Rat Computers, I can go over here and I've enabled a custom Lightning component. And thanks Abik Lal for helping me build this for a different demo. I'm demoing this now for this scenario. So I'm going to click on inventory on the bottom here, a little quick action. Actually, this format's better on the iPad. As you can see, it's a responsive table, so it's taking up more room than I would like. But let's go over here and let's start doing some scanning. All right, you can see here, reader just went off. Let's turn it back on and see what happens. And I'm going to start reading. This one should update that 1 terabyte item here. Oh, that's got to turn back on. There we go. And you can see as I push it, the data gets streamed in, and the actuals are reading the on blur event and capturing it here. So, or it's actually on key down, I believe, looking for the enter key. That's actually something else to note. A lot of these devices, you can configure them to send either enter or tab, and that's what you're looking for in the key code to determine whether this text field, which is labeled scan code here, is actually reading. So here we go. Let's scan a couple different ones just to show you that it actually works. That one should have updated something. Yep, that bottom one. Here's this one. This one. I'm scanning as quick as I can. I have the audible beep that comes from the device itself. So you can see here, there's some good things. You can scan fairly quickly. I would actually say this is a fairly good experience, but also note here, my keyboard went away. So if I had to scan something and make a note, like it's a damaged device or something like that, I've got to actually do some things to get out of it. And all of a sudden, when I'm done with that, I have to remember to put the focus back in the scan code button. Otherwise, it won't work. So that's I did that here with a scan button just to kind of put it in scan mode. But you can see here, it's not a bad experience. I would say that this is something that you could actually use for something that this wasn't their primary job, right? You're not going to give an iPhone and a scanner to somebody at a grocery store and have them scan, hundreds and thousands of things quickly, right? There's too much that could go wrong. Trying to make sure that this is being captured at the right time, and that the scan is always has focus, the keyboard interaction, all that's a little much. I will say this is easier. This is mobile, right? This is easier if you have a desktop application, right? Because the desktop actually, can accept input from multiple keyboards at once. And again, I don't know on the Android device. I have to boot up my old ones and see if this works there. Anyway, I hope this has given you a good idea of what's feasible, and looking forward to talking to you more about other mobile considerations on one of my 2-minute drills coming up. Thanks again. This is Joe Castro. Have a great